Dragon Ball Z is one of those franchises where you typically expect big explosions, screaming until your lungs give out, and fights that last longer than a family holiday argument. So naturally, the perfect way to capture that on the Game Boy Color was a slow, turn-based RPG. Yeah, that's Legendary Super Warriors. A DBZ game where instead of mashing buttons to throw punches, you shuffle a deck and just hope that RNGesus gives you a Super Kamehameha and not another Guru attack power-up. Sounds like an absolute disaster, right? Well, here's the thing. It actually works. You see, I was just about a 7-year-old kid when I stumbled upon this cartridge at my cousin's house while playing like Super Mario 64 or something. And naturally being a huge DBZ fan, even at that time, and having played already Legacy of Goku 1 and I believe Budokai, I was very curious as to what this game was. And although upon my initial purchase, I was a bit disappointed, I have to say, after playing through it for a while and replaying it now, Legendary Super Warriors is one of those games that you just remember throughout your entire life. It really stood out to me, and I'm sure many others as well, as a iconic title. And today, we're taking a look at this little weird relic from 2002, back when the Game Boy Color was basically on life support, and somehow this game still made an impact. So here's the deal. You don't actually run around throwing punches. Every fight is about a 20-card deck. These cards do everything. Basic attacks, flashy super moves, healing, and even countering. You've got action points each turn. You decide if you're moving, blocking, or dropping a special on your opponent. Now, positioning here matters a lot. If you're up close, melee cards work better. But if you're too far away, those punch cards are not going to do much damage at all. So every match is basically this back and forth jockeying for positions, managing cards, and just praying that you don't get a garbage deck. And let's be real, you will end up with a horrible deck at least once. The best way I can describe it is like dating in your teens. It seems perfect at first, but then 3 turns in, you're like, wow, this was a pretty big mistake. The combat is slow, but really tense. Every card you play actually matters here. Do you burn through energy early, hoping to land a big move? Or do you hold back, block, and bait the AI? There's strategy, there's bluffing, and there's even moments where the deck just straight up screws you over. And trust me, nothing stings quite like the enemy pulling the exact counter card they need right when you think you've got them exactly where you want them. You know that feeling when your boss asks you if you finished that thing that you kind of forgot about after procrastinating? Yeah. It's that level of pain. But when it clicks, it feels great. Landing a perfectly timed Kamehameha or turning a fight around with the right defensive play is genuinely so satisfying. It's not the adrenaline rush of Budokai or Tenkaichi, but it's its own kind of high. And what makes it most interesting is that you're constantly juggling 2 types of brains. The DBZ fan brain that wants to constantly blast everything with giant anime moves, and of course the card gamer brain that knows if you actually try that, you're gonna gas out all of your points by turn 2 or 3 and get fucking stomped in the process. So there's this constant tension of wanting to feel like Goku, but having to actually play like a caffeine-addicted chess master who has to sweat over every single card placement. Now don't get me wrong, this pace of combat is not for everybody. If you're used to the instant gratification of mashing buttons and watching health bars disappear in flashy combos, this game is more like DragonBallZ Poker Night. You're reading your opponent, calculating risk, and praying the deck isn't about to hand you 3 3-stage attack cards in a row while the enemy drops back-to-back Gallop Guns. But here's the thing. The slower pace is what makes this game so addictive. Every victory feels earned, like you actually outsmarted the opponent instead of just button mash them. You don't get that hollow, well, I guess I just beat the opponent because I could spam X faster than them. Instead, you get that smug little dopamine hit of, yes, I saw that coming and I had that response ready. Now for a Game Boy Color title, this game looks shockingly good. The sprites are clean, the attack animations actually have weight, and you can immediately tell who's who. Tiny Goku throwing a spirit bomb? Still freaking cool. The sound though? Yeah, that can be kind of rough. The music is fine. I mean, you're not getting anything close to the anime, but the bad part is that it just keeps repeating this same track over and over and over again. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love that track, and it's just engraved into my brain probably from hearing it 30 battles in a row. But yeah, a little bit of variety would have been kind of nice. And those battle sound effects, they're pure 2002 Game Boy torture. And if you were unfortunate enough to play this with headphones, congratulations, you're probably a 30-year-old with 30% loss of their hearing. And the story itself runs through all the big DBZ arcs. Saiyan, Namek, Cell, and even the Boo arc, which for a Game Boy Color cartridge title, this is really ambitious. But for the story itself, pretty bare bones. A few text boxes, some sprite cutscenes, and then you're dropped right into the fight. Don't expect emotional gut punches when Goku sacrifices himself against Hell. You're definitely not tearing up. In fact, they cut out most of the bad words, aka die, to say lost, which is just really odd when they still use the word hell and damn and yeah, I think even bastard once or twice. This really doesn't make any sense. Needless to say, you're just hammering the A button to get back to the fight. But at the time, this was insane. You could play through basically all of DBZ on a handheld Game Boy Color cartridge. I keep saying it, but it's crazy. This was a big deal. It felt like they squeezed the entire anime into the Game Boy itself, and you could play it on the bus, at school, at home, wherever. What really keeps this game going though is the unlocks. You're constantly earning new cards, tweaking your deck, and unlocking characters. And not just the obvious ones. There's even a versus mode, you know, with the link cable they used to have. Did anyone use it? Probably not many, but it's there. But the idea of building a deck and just flexing it on your friend in this style game is just too awesome. Most likely if you did venture on post-game material, you just flood the AI endlessly, which, yeah, I mean, we could definitely use more than that, but the grind was real. You'll farm cards, you'll replay fights, and you'll curse the RNG more than once. But back then, that was fine. When you only had 3 games total, grind was basically part of the experience. You weren't spoiled with game passes back then. You had this, and you were damn well gonna make it last. And speaking of making it last, let's be real. This game cheats. The AI straight up feels rigged all the time. You'll watch them pull perfect counters turn after turn while you're sitting there holding 3 guard cards and wondering what life choices got you here. Some fights are brutal. You'll lose over and over until you finally grind enough or stumble into a winning deck. And when you do win, it feels amazing. But man, the road to get there was not easy. Like, this game is prime rage material. So here's my take. Legendary Super Warriors is so different. It's not flashy, it's definitely not fast, but it's genuinely unique. It dared to do what nobody else could. Slow DBZ down, make it tactical, and it actually worked. It's frustrating, it's so grindy, and it's terribly unfair. But it's also deep, rewarding, and surprisingly fun. If you're a DBZ fan, it's definitely worth checking out. And if you're a strategy game fan, even better. But on the other hand, if you just want instant action like Budokai, Tenkaichi, or Sparking Zero, whatever, this is not going to be up your alley by any means. So DragonBallZ Legendary Super Warriors. Does it live up to the legendary parts in its name? Yeah. In its own quirky way, I definitely say it does. And for a rating 1 through 10, I'd say I'd give it a solid, oh man, honestly bro, an 8.6 out of 10. This game was really, really fun. I mean, I do have my grudges with it. I definitely think they could have done a few things better, but man, this game is so memorable, and I hope I find some people in the comments who feel the exact same way that I did and treasure the memories of originally playing it. And damn, that Frieza fight, the first time I played that Frieza fight when I was a kid, it was so damn hard. Now, it was still pretty hard, but the game is a lot easier as I actually understand it better now, I think. I also found it kind of weird how the earlier stages, at least for me, were some of the harder ones, like Burter and Jace and Frieza again, were probably the most difficult fights in the entire game. But after that, once you get to like the Android Saga, it's really not too bad. It's one of those games that reminds you just how experimental the handheld era could be. Not perfect, but again, one of the most memorable games for me. What did you guys think? hidden gem, underrated, or did you just straight up not like this game? Let me know again in the comments, and if you did like this video, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe on the road to 3,000 subscribers, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.